Are you prepared for the unexpected? With extreme weather events increasing and more frequent power outages, it's crucial to take control of your emergency readiness. The country has already seen massive storms that left hundreds of thousands without power and many lost lives. Be prepared for grid down with EcoFlow Delta Pro plus 400 and 222 watts solar panels. Our generators serve as a reliable backup power source during emergencies, ensuring that heating, cooling, medical devices, and food preservation systems continue to operate.
In case that the power is down for more than a week, then you can charge these units with your solar.
We had a big freeze here in Texas, and we had no power. Having the ability to keep your food fresh or stay warm is key in environments like that. They're game changers.
Visit BeReady123.com/monkeyworks or call 941-413-2063.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec House Monkey here. It's going to be your SITREP. It is 5/30/2024 coming to you live here from the great state of Texas in the Monkey Lounge. And so we're going to be getting into a lot of stuff today. So let's just get right into it. Over here on the mini, let's talk Skyglass for a minute, see what's currently up. But yeah, there's just a lot of things happening around the world right now. I won't get started on the Trump aspect because I really want to try to focus on the military and weather and those type of things. So many people talk the politics and there's a lot of baiting going on and things like that. And I just don't want to jump in to that. I've been doing it for a while, and it's just there's just too many other things to cover that other people aren't covering. And so I'm just going to try to stick to my swim lane, and let's talk, military movements and troop deployments and potential drafts and the news that is associated with the military side of the house. And then, of course, man, we won't forget about the weather aspect. We're about to get smacked again here in Texas, and I will tell you, if I see the Weather Mod LLC or the SOAR aircraft going up to do their cloud seeding, I will definitely be sharing that, because what I want to do is carefully document every single time they go up and what the outcome is in the area. So, okay, let's get into this piece. Over, like I said, in Skyglass, we've stripped out the trainers, and that would include the helicopters as well as the little lawn darts, T-38s, and some Hawks. Okay, so taking those out, but we're still sitting at a number around 195. Again, it's not the quantity that's up necessarily, but the what is up, right? And so let's talk here first and foremost. We'll go H-60s. You can see they're pretty spread out. Ignore this little grouping right here in the panhandle, usually associated with some type of training. And then I'm just going to bounce over. We'll come right back. I just want to see if we got any H-60s in Europe. No, we don't. Okay, back to the U.S. All right, look at the incognitos. These are folks that don't want you knowing what they're doing. They're what they would call masked flights. And you'll notice over here, I got a couple of them that are green. These that are all, the straight asterisks all the way across. I'm going to go ahead and add those to my watch list because those are going to be P8s, more than likely. And they like to fly as NA all the time. So, all right, we'll back those out. Talk to H-60s. Look at the current air refuelers that are up over the United States. Got 26 KC-135s. And let me see. There's your Pegasus 76200s. 9 of those. So it's a pretty daunting little number. We got 30 on screen. That tells me we got stuff off screen, which will be over here in Europe. So let's go over and take a look. You can see we've got a little bit of flight there near the North Sea, kind of up near Denmark, Norway side of the house. And then a little bit south here around that Achilles heel of Italy. And that looks to be... let me just double check, but I'm pretty sure, that's a U.S. asset. So that's a KC-135. So these are, again, indicators of fighter activity as well as other things, right? And we will be talking here in a minute about the B52 that decided to go do a couple laps around Kaliningrad. And, you're just poking the bear. We'll look at that flight when I get to the news story. So if you're waiting to see whether they flew and what they did, We'll get back to that here in just a minute. Okay, so C-17s, quite a few up of those, 20. The interesting one that I caught that I thought was really kind of jazzy are the Eurofighters. 10 of those. You never see fighters up. That'd be like seeing 10 F-35s up. You just don't see it very often. Let me just do this. They're going to be all in Europe. And they look to be doing quite the frenzy over the UK. So there are your Eurofighters. And then we'll go back to CONUS. And I want to show you the E6. We got 2 E6s up currently. A little bit in the middle, kind of headed towards the center of the U.S. And then we got this one off the East Coast. Remember, these are take charge, move out. They're Navy assets, and they are typically talking to your nukes, all right? Sub-hunters, I haven't talked about those too much lately. Pretty busy. Looks like we got our regular little flurry out of Jacksonville Naval Air Station. So let's do this. I'm going to hit our watch list first and foremost, and let's see what we have up. There is a private air refueler off the west coast, or left coast, as I like to say. And then, of course, you can see you got some Intel birds up. This got E3s, 2 E3s, and an R-135 very close to Vegas. Another Habal balloon. Don't lose sight of that one. Right, that's kind of over the Texas border side. And then another E6, we just talked about that. That's actually one that we discussed. P3, that is actually a NOAA. That's a NASA bird that is probably out doing weather-related stuff off the East Coast. And then more intel, you've got LaSalle Aviation, looks to be in the center of the United States. Then we get over here to Europe, and you'll just see another spar flight. That's going to be blue and white dignitary. We know they're in the region. When we get over to Ramstein, you'll see they're pretty loaded up. And a couple of the Italian Intel aircraft. All right. You don't hear too much about the Italians when it comes to what's going on around Europe and with respect to Ukraine, et cetera. But they're in on it all. We just don't really talk about them too much. All right. And that was a Russian asset. Let's check down here in Australia. Don't have anything. So, all right, let's get into the Intel piece. And this is just like the B52, as always. We go around and around and around Kaliningrad on a pretty regular basis. It's kind of isolated. It's on the other side of Belarus, but it is by all means, a Russian location, okay? It gives them port access into the Baltic Sea. And then, of course, look at the amount of flights here in Central Texas. That's Intel, right? Gathering intelligence. And you can see a little blurb there up in Oklahoma. But where we don't see it is that spot headed up towards Montana. But when we look at the R-135s, you'll see those for sure, okay? Okay, let's talk R-135. It's a good segue as we get into what they're up to again over the Montana side of the house. And then there is a big amount when we look at the R-135s and the AWACS over Vegas. I thought it was a red flag, but I see no indication through the Nellis website that there's a red flag active right now. The last one was in March. And so that tells me they're there for something else. So that's a little concerning because of what those aircraft do. All right. You can see the one that just kind of flew out and back. It's probably Jake 17 call sign that went out over the Black Sea. And then look at this one, looking very closely at the North Koreans. And that one's coming out of Okinawa, right? Speaking of E6s, when we talked about the TACAMOs that were currently up, 9 flights last 3 days, again, off the left coast. And then you can see a broken trace headed to the west, one down over the Gulf of Mexico, and then off the east coast, right, at E6. Now the AWACS, just like we saw with the R-135s, look at the frenzy of activity over kind of that Nellis Air Force Base area, right? And then down, a little blip down off of the southern California coast, stuff going on out in the Gulf of Mexico, broken trace, looks like it's headed out to the Caribbean. And then you can see the stuff happening off the East Coast. As always, again, this is AWACS, right? This is advanced warning aircraft. And then little man in the middle there spin over Europe. It looks like Germany side of the house. Out over the Mediterranean and then off of Portugal. We get out here. I don't see anything in the Asia side. But then we get down to Australia and it is very active, down to Tasmania, all the way up the eastern seaboard there, even over to Perth. So, okay, let's talk air refuelers. Last 3 days, 200 plus flights. Just notice the broken traces out over the Pacific. Notice the one out off the Pacific, doing the routes back and forth, and then out over those danger boxes when we talk about the Notams. The Gulf of Mexico, which is that's pretty active. And you can see up the East Coast, as always, over the center U.S. Again, big indicator of fighters, those long transitions, another indicator that you are moving fighters across the drink. And then, of course, we can see the little marshalling points. That's where those fighters that are all flying around over Europe are coming in to get a little go juice. All right. And then looks like out over the Persian Gulf side. And then, of course, look at that, just to the southern end of South Korea and then out over the Pacific. All right. All right. Nothing over Australia. Okay, now let's look at the Russians. This piece I thought was interesting because it looks like there is a flurry of activity last 3 days down to Uzbekistan. And I probably didn't say that right, but I believe that is in country. According to the black borders, it would be all the way over on the eastern side of that country. But that is where it looks like a majority of the work is done. So, okay, last one I want to look at. This is going to be the Omnis. This tells a story. And the reason I am pointing this out is, remember, we lost the Swift Airs. And I thought, well, guess what? All of this immigration stuff went right into a vacuum. We're not going to be able to trace and track all the flights coming in because they're putting them on commercial flights. Talk about a little bit of news, going to be another indicator that they are using, indeed, commercial flights coming out of Europe. But look at the Omni flights, because this does tell a story. And I need to kick it up to the side here, a little over 100 plus flights. And they have quite a big fleet. And not just Omni. You've got the Amerijet and a couple others that are mixed in there. But notice that it goes into... let me pause that for a second because I don't want you to lose sight of that. Notice where it goes right up here. That's Egypt, right on the other side of the border of Gaza. That tells me, because these are more than likely going to be charter transports, that they are picking people up and bringing them back, right? Notice it's a round robin. It goes in to the Gaza side. And then notice you got a little one into Istanbul. We see some RZE Poland going on there, which will be troops, all right? And then a little flurry up towards Denmark into what looks to be Norway, and the southern end, I think that's Finland, without zooming in. Who knew you'd get geography lessons when you start tracking airplanes, right? It's been a big one for me. It's learning all of these countries, especially when you get into all the stands, right? But then look at this. Over the United States, how busy this is. You may remember there's a border flight right there headed right down to Brownsville, it looks like. And look at the flights in and out of Hawaii, right? So this is going to be a mix. It's not just immigrants, but those into Central America, yeah, those are immigrants. They're coming down, probably picking them up and bringing them back, all right? Into Miami, down into South America, right? Yeah, and into Hawaii. The Hawaii piece, I believe, is probably troops. Okay, not 100% though. But again, these guys, so we start talking about Omni, they serve many masters. Look at the amount of work over here in the Asian Pacific side of the house. And of course they are, that's more than likely military and troop related, right? And then you see this one that heads way down into South America. All right. So we'll just continue to keep an eye on them. And, if, I don't know, maybe eventually we'll get some legs and see who's getting off these Omni flights. All right. I would imagine somebody in the Miami airport seeing one of these planes roll up may have eyes on something. So, all right. So let's do this. Let's get into the news cycle. We have got first up, they finally have said it, what it really is. So, yeah, you read this right. The IAEA, which is the International Atomic Agency, they are basically the watchdogs for people that have nukes. And they've been spending a lot of time in Iran lately. But it says here, Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is 30x, so 30 times bigger than Obama nuclear deal allows. What? There's an Obama nuclear deal? Hey, look, we know that just before Trump came into office, they put plane loads of money, U.S. currency, unmarked, and sent it over there. All right. We know that they lifted sanctions, did all kinds of different things to enable. The whole premise behind this was to destabilize the Middle East. All right. You did it with, or they did it with ISIL or ISIS, which, the only guy that was ever calling it ISIL, and that was the one that when I had to go look it up to go, what does that ISIL mean? The L is for Levant. All right. And if you're not familiar with that, this is the guy that was behind it. All right. That's because he's a Muslim and he is anti-Israel. All right. That's why he tries to oust Bibi. That's why they're giving tons and tons of money to the Palestinians and down into Gaza. And that's why they're taking them all, bringing them here to the United States. You haven't figured that one out yet. Come on, get on the bus. We got all kinds of stuff on that one. Okay. Now, we were talking about the fact that they are flying illegals directly from other countries into our country, right? They're being greenlit, given advance clearance. They come in. They're not just showing up, right? This is our State Department. They're using an app. They apply for whatever asylum or whatever it may be. And, we give them probably more than likely even pay for their ticket to get here, all right, with travel vouchers. All right, but check this out. It says here, a traveler carries measles through LAX as the cases rise around the United States. Well, the reason you're seeing the rise around the United States is because we are bringing people in from other countries, and that is why, 100%. Okay, didn't have it before all this stuff. You may get occasional, but it's been eradicated for a long time. But check it out. They flew in on Lufthansa from Munich, Germany, into LAX, and then from there they flew up to Fresno, and they were highly contagious the entire time. We had another one here. Was in February, another one in March. But check this out. This is your key takeaway. The measles are about 6 times more infectious than the C-19, and is frequently deadly in countries where it is endemic. So it says here in 2022, 130,000 people are believed to have died from that. So nothing to mess around with. It's certainly coming back. All right. Okay, look at this. U.S. calls for rapid deployment to Haiti after missionaries have been killed. You may have noticed this time when I showed you the C-17s, there was something clearly missing that we have seen time and time again over the last several SITREPs. And that was C-17 flights to Haiti. Now they're admitting that, we've got to get down there and do something about it. But look at this. They're calling for a rapid deployment into that location. So we will probably start to see the C-17s going in yet again and boots on the ground, right? Just pay attention to it because they're saying there's more than 300,000 people actually being forced from their homes. Half the population is going hungry, thus the C-17 flights. But don't think for a minute they didn't carry a bunch of equipment down there for us to. In fact, we're probably there, and this is them telling us that we are already there. All right. Okay, another F-35 Stovall. This is the B variant, right? It's the Marine variant. It's the one that hovers. All right. And Stovall, if you're not familiar with it, it's a short takeoff, vertical landing. All right. You used to see the Harriers that would just, take straight up off the ground. Takes a lot of fuel to do that. Now they just have a real short runway. They can take off of carriers and all kinds of things because of that vertical lift fan. But yet again, we see another one otter into the ground. You can see a picture of the remnant. Nothing to salvage out of that one. Pilot punched out, looks to be okay. But anyway, that was in Albuquerque. We just talked about that location. Remember, we were talking about the chain of command that's there in terms of nuclear capabilities, et cetera. and the fact that we had a whole bunch of airplanes showing up that nobody's talking about. Now, is it tied to what's going on in Ukraine? Probably. All right. Going to be your Notams for today. Just notice the danger boxes are extending off the left coast here, down on the southern side, as always. And still got the little box down here. It looks like a rocket box, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was changed over. That's exercise scheduled. Rocket box may have been a little further out. So I think I called that the rocket box last time. But there was an inbound from a space program, I think, that was dropping out here. Probably Falcon X or something along those lines where it lands. But let's see what this little box is here. Danger area activated. Okay. That may be what it was. All right. Anyway, notice this one out over the Gulf of Mexico. Again, danger box. Danger box is all the way up the right side of the U.S. East Coast, as always. And then this is Flashbang on the move. He's headed. I didn't even cover his schedule because, do we really care? Nah, not too much. We can see the boxes and where he's moving. So, but this is looks like he's headed to yet another vacation. Headed to the beach. Okay, this is a data point for you. It's a very important one because remember, we were borrowing 500,000 rounds of artillery from South Korea, right? 155 millimeter. We've been flying it over to Ukraine. Ukraine depleted, burned through just about everything that we gave them. And then, of course, now we have been working to stand up the capability, looks like here in Texas, out in Mesquite, Texas, that they're going to be actually just U.S. Army opens the new 155 Mike artillery munitions plant in Mesquite. Check this out. This is your number. And this is important because if you know what Ukraine's going through and you know that they are getting additional stuff, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute as well, from other countries, they are going to be producing 100,000 rounds a month. That's a lot. That would probably be a good indicator that they do believe that NATO, including everybody over there, is about to be in a war. All right, you're going to have reach back, and you're going to have a lot of it. All right. All right. Here's one of your camera flights. That's let's see. We're over here at Ramstein. Now, the interesting one, this is C-130 here. Atlas Air 747 come out of Tampa. Then we've got troops, looks like, coming inbound from near Cairo. Okay, and then that leaving destination unknown. But we got a spar headed down to, that's going to be, I think that's Terceira Island. So that's a fuel stop more than likely. And then more camber flights. But just notice where they're headed. RZE and then Kuwait 747s. All right. Here's your Brits. And I'll back up just to show the map, but you can see, looks like that one's going to be headed down either to Spain into Portugal, and then this one's coming out of, what is that? Let me get in a little closer. This is Sweden here. I think maybe Finland. No, sorry. Yeah, you know what? That could be. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, rolling southbound and down into Europe. And then this one looks to be headed over to maybe, let me see. Yeah, it's 35,000 feet. It's cruising 521 miles an hour. So, yeah, it could be headed out to maybe Israel or Gaza or Jordan or something along those lines. Definitely Middle East look. And then, of course, look at this. You've got camber flights, all these 747s leaving Kuwait, headed to Ramstein. We saw that on the board. And then this is Doha, 777. That's going to be troops. And then this one leaving Ramstein, 767, more than likely troops as well. All right, RZE. Remember, this is your border between Poland and Ukraine over here. All right, you can see some flights coming out. Remember, this is a mixed bag of tricks because they fly a lot of commercial out of that same airport. So you have to kind of cherry pick through the arrival and departure boards. But you can see this one coming in from Columbus, Ohio, MD-11, probably troops coming inbound. That's NATO. Airbird. Let me go down a little further. And I see a Western Global 747 come out of Canada. So it's probably some Canadian troops coming in. So what we are seeing coming into RZE are a lot of, you could say NATO forces, Americans, Canadians, etc. But we're seeing a lot of troops coming in, and we have been for a little while now, as well as a lot of assets, right? Equipment, military equipment. Okay, check this. Near capable, or sorry, not near, nuclear capable B-52's. Yeah. Basically, these are B-52 bombers. You're not familiar with it. It is a very old platform. And they circle the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad on a UK flight. That means they came out of the UK. But these are American B-52s. This is what one looks like. And it's got a crew of 8. It can seat 10. That would be max, right? That's people basically flying in a hammock. And yeah, and sitting on a honey bucket, all right? But anyway, this is, let me just show you the flight. This is kind of interesting. Again, you're just poking the bear, and, they say it sends a strong message to Russia, but, they do the same thing to us, really. You can see it out doing a little bit of flying around over the North Sea, and then you could see where it goes out here and just kind of goes around. This is a lot of loitering in the area between or very close to Belarus as well. No mention of that, but that was Kaliningrad down in the middle of that. So we kind of went around, did a little bit of flying around there near the Belarus border. But again, B-52s, we know we got them in the region. We've been watching them fly over there. They typically wipe those flights so you can't see them. But it's a data point for you. Let's see. I had to laugh. I was looking at this up here. This is the judge. This is the guy who has a suspended license and basically calls in via a Zoom meeting while driving his car to talk to the judge. So you just can't fix stupid. You just can't. So, all right, let's do this. Moving on over here. We get into this piece. Poland procures several hundreds more of the JASSM's ER cruise missiles. They have a range of like 1,600 kilometers, I believe I read. And they're buying them from the U.S., $735 million worth. I say the U.S. Actually, it's not accurate. It's just U.S. dollars. But the state, it is U.S. My bad. State Department had approved the deal covering a maximum of 821 missiles. Pretty specific. 821. All right. But this is what it looks like. Just a cruise missile dropping off an F-16. But again, long range, right? It's going to give them some reach. And you see Poland doing a lot of very specific prep work. It's because they will become the front line if this goes hot. Poland's going to be a target right out of the gate. All right. And then again, this Ukraine to receive 1 million artillery shells through a Czech-led initiative, probably using U.S. dollars, $1.6 billion. This is where I find it comical, is that Ukraine has successfully raised over $1.6 billion. Yeah, that's probably U.S. money. We've given them to them. This is 155 millimeter artillery rounds. So they have gone out and secondhand purchased via our money some more rounds that they're going to need. And then, of course, we're spooling up manufacturing back in the U.S., just open up the plant, going to get to 100,000 rounds a month, which is an insane amount. Again, wars and economy, we're definitely headed there from a war perspective. And here's the other one. France and Poland approve Ukraine using Western-supplied missiles to strike inside Russia. That's just, all you're doing is just taking us to the next level. When they start hitting Russia inside from Ukraine, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. At that point, I would imagine that the U.S. and NATO will be fully engaged. All All right, here's your only Omni flight that we had currently up. You can see this one coming out of what looks to be the UK, Shannon, Ireland, and headed over here to the US. Again, more than likely that is going to be troops. And then we go out here to this side of the house. You can see them down in Sydney, headed to Guam. All right, again, more than likely troops. Okay, so, you go back over here to this side and you start talking about all of these strikes going into Russia and the fact that the United States is poking the bear and flying around Russia. And it kind of, in the last SITREP, I had a bunch of stories. I didn't go into them because they were kind of nothing. There was a lot of talk about peace talks in Ukraine, Russia coming to the table, and Belarus, and then, of course, Ukraine. But, of course, then they talked about how Zelensky is an illegitimate president. He doesn't have the capacity and or the authorization, so to speak, to really come in and negotiate anything with the Russians because his term has already ended. And so, but the interesting piece to this is just you have to not lose sight that when you go into Ezekiel 38, all right, go biblical on you again, Russia is still here, folks. They're not going anywhere. The United States does not want peace. They don't. Because if they did, they would be talking, trying to get everybody to the table. This is a predetermined outcome. They want war with Russia. If nothing more than the reason it'll be the front line will be the Ukraine, okay, or eastern flank of Europe. But the reason they don't want peace is because, you need a war to try to stop Trump from getting into office. And they know the minute that Trump gets in, he is going to more than likely tell Ukraine to pack sand, probably send them a bill for all the money that we've given them and say, we want some money back. And Russia's going to take them over. There'll be no war between the United States, NATO, and Russia with Ukraine. Trump won't do it. That's just where it's going. If our current leaders knew the Bible, and they knew that Russia's not going anywhere, they would more than likely realize that, hey, this is a stupid move. But hey, all right, whatevs. Okay, here's a little bit of a laugh, but not a laugh. But look at how many Reaper drones have been shot down by the Houthis. Right? Remember, that is an Iranian terrorist proxy. Okay, and 6. You know how expensive these things are? They're extremely expensive, about $30 million a copy. And the reason they're getting shot down is they're slow and they're low, right? And, when I say low, comparatively speaking to like a Q4 drone that pops up there 50, 60,000 feet, even then, depending on what system they have in play for air defense, if you're getting it from the Russians, or even the Iranians who are getting it from the Russians, those things they have a reach of about 65,000 feet, which is up there, right? So you can shoot down all kinds of things, including Q4s. But you'd think after you lost, this many, you'd say, we probably need to rethink our strategy. Either fly something higher or, park a balloon up there that nobody sees. But nonetheless, this is the 6th one. This is the funny part is you got to kind of laugh at these Hajis here standing on the aircraft. Now, the thing is, and the big takeaway with this is that, remember, when you land it like this, you're giving them the capability and the technology, right? They're going to take that. China will get their hands on it. Russia get their hands on it. Of course, they already have because they salvaged the one out of the Black Sea. But that's got all our secret sauce on it, okay? And so now you land it like this, and it's salvageable. They can get in there, take it all apart, reverse engineer your stuff. The drone pilot, sitting in a trailer probably somewhere in, Nevada. Realistically, as soon as you start having all the different things, that they need to take that thing and just nose it down so that there's really just nothing but a crater for them to look at. So anyway, just stupid. This is the same type of thing that we did. This is why when you look at Iran's stealth drones, it's because we literally took one, flew it straight into their country, landed on the runway, parked it for them, and handed them the keys, right? On purpose. You know it was on purpose. Somebody probably did a backhanded deal that said, hey, we'll give you all that technology and capability in return for X. Okay, and so this right here, you may as well have done the same thing. So anyway. All right, folks. Listen, that's going to do it for our SITREP today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. For those in the chat over here on the live show, hang tight. We got a Q&A coming up right after this. And everybody else, we will see you next week. That's going to be it. You guys be safe. Keep that powder dry. Stay frosty. God bless. Monkey out.